Hello, this is Lorian Mariachi, and in this video we're talking about well-being, and we're looking at the paradigm of function and the paradigm of perfection. And my hope is, and what I'm begging and imploring, is that you'll understand well-being as a function and not perfection. So, first of all, perfection is not attainable. It's not a thing. No matter how hard you try or what you do, you will never ever be perfect or have perfect well being in all 8 dimensions of well being. Not a thing, not going to happen. So if it's futile, it's really pointless to aim for it. Second of all, a lot of times perfection comes from comparing ourselves to other people. And that has 2 dangers. One is that you can, in the pursuit of well-being, you can actually make yourself very ill in any or all of the 8 dimensions by focusing too much on what you perceive to be attainable because you perceive it from someone else. And the second piece of that is that the perception is probably pretty faulty, because either you're directly witnessing this perfection or this person being so much better than you in one of the areas or more of the areas, but your perception could be faulty because you're only seeing what you're seeing in front of you right then and there. You don't know if they've been struggling mightily in every other area or in the 5 minutes before you saw them, or if they're going to be in excruciating pain all night after you saw them. Like, you don't know any of that. You only know what you're seeing in your perception of what you're seeing. And the other problem is that if you're not directly witnessing this other person being better than you in some area or another, if you're seeing it on social media or YouTube or any source other than in person, then that is mediated information. And what that means is that you're only seeing exactly what the other person wants you to see. So you're comparing their best, most edited, possibly even photoshopped, completely staged moment that they chose to share with the world. So you're comparing that to your reality outside of the context of your reality. And this is super dangerous because it's really hard to compare to anybody else, because all we know about other people is what they want us to see. Even if we're in person with them most of the time, even if it's a significant other or a child, we only see what they want us to see in the context in which they want us to see it. So even there's no way to understand all of someone else's flaws, to know all of their mistakes, to see all of the ways in which they fall short, because being human, we all do. We all have flaws, we all make mistakes, we all fall short, but we can't see all of that because we don't exist as that person, and so we only have the full understanding of our existence, flaws and mistakes, and all. And so it's really dangerous to compare ourselves, or like the buzzword is like toxic. It's really no bueno. It's not good for us to compare ourselves, or to believe that perfect is achievable, or to reach for perfection. All of these things are not what we're doing. And so I was thinking about the radar charts that we made in the last video, and I will put a link in the description if in case you didn't see it or you'd like to review it. And so we made radar charts, and so with the radar chart, this was the center, and then this was the extreme outer edge. And my fear is that means that this is perceived as perfect, that this is attainable, and that this is the goal. This is not attainable, this is not the goal. So how I would like to reframe this, and how I'm encouraging you to reframe this, is in like areas of functioning. So this for me is not functioning. This is needs attention. This is this is not where I want it to be. It's not great, but it's okay. It's okay. And this is, I don't even have to think about it because it's all good in the hood right here. So with the, and there's a couple of things, and the main thing is that this is all personal perception based on your personal wants, needs, and desires. So for me, I am coming out of a period where my knees were so bad that I struggled to get up and down the stairs. At work, I worked in a 2-story building, and I had to take the elevator. I could not physically go up and down the stairs, and it was incredibly difficult to get from my vehicle to my classroom because of an injury that I was having a lot of difficulty recovering from. So for me, for my physical thresholds between what's not acceptable and is what is acceptable is pretty basic. Like if I can get up and down my stairs to my apartment, that's going to be yellow for me. That's not going to be red. For me, green would be like being able to go to a trampoline park with my son if I wanted. For my physical, let me see if I can find my physical real quick right here. For my physical, can't go to a trampoline park. If I wanted to, I'd end up leaving in a gurney with bones sticking out of my leg at this point. My legs are not healthy enough for a trampoline park. So so for physical, but there was a time in the not too distant past before the injury that for me a trampoline park would have been yellow. I was actually doing gymnastics. I was flipping. I have video to prove it. I'm not going to add it in here though. But so for me, green would have been flipping, and yellow would have been trampoline park difficulty flipping, and red would have been I just would not have been able to imagine not being able to go up and down stairs at that point in my life. So this is completely up to you, and it can be different for different areas. This is all you, and it's all about being aware of your well-being. So we're not aiming for perfection. My intellectual well-being, I am taking project management courses through Coursera and Google. I read for fun. And so for me, my intellectual well-being is just fine. Now, my friend is getting a PhD. So maybe this would be out here for me, would be a PhD, but I don't need a PhD right now. I don't need to be in PhD courses right now. I am getting all of the intellectual stimulation that I need. It's in green. It's fine. I don't even need to think about it. I don't even need to worry about it. So if you're following along and there's an area of this that's sitting in the green, and you know that the video is about that kind of well-being, focused on that kind of well-being, don't even bother to watch it. There is no need for me to be consuming information about how to improve my intellectual well-being, because it's covered. But I do need to work on some of these things. So one of them is my social well-being. And again, I have it on the threshold between really needs improvement and it's okay, I can let it go for a little bit, because before the pandemic I was having hundreds of interactions a day with hundreds of different people every day of the week. And so on the weekends, I wanted to go out and be in restaurants and stuff where I would be around hundreds of other people, because that's how I rolled. I'm an extreme extrovert. Whenever I take Myers-Briggs assessments, where it puts me, on the spectrum of introvert to extrovert, I am nearly 100% extrovert, nearly 100% of the time. So this whole pandemic thing has it got me shook. So with, so here for social well-being, I don't know which one of these two it is, honestly, I can't see from behind, but for social well-being, I'm right on the cusp where it's something that I want to work on, and if it doesn't get much better, it's going to start really detrimentally affecting my emotional well-being. And it may even be playing a role in my physical well-being. So with that, so I want to be aware of it, but I don't need to work on it. So these are things. This is one that I definitely want to work on because it's the summer. So as far as occupation goes, I don't really have much besides YouTube to occupy my time. I'm doing the storytelling festival. I can put those links below too if anybody's curious. But I don't have a whole lot to occupy my time over the summer as a teacher. So I'm really struggling with my occupational well-being. So the point of all of this is please frame it as function versus perfection. So we're not aiming for the outer corner. We're aiming to have most of our stuff in green most of the time. And we're not aiming to like push through. I'm not gonna, with my occupational health, I'm not gonna obsess over it until I can push it all the way out till green. I'm aware of it, and I'm going to be picking up habits and teeny tiny little habits to improve my occupational well-being. And I'm going to be, like with my social well-being, I'm going to try to be, go out publicly, at least once a week, and trying to go out on my own or in situations where I'll be interacting with other people, because that has kind of worn away with the pandemic. I really need it as an extrovert. I need that interaction for my energy levels and my well-being. But I'm also starting to experience anxiety about the idea of it because I haven't done it since March of 2020. So anyway, it's about function, not perfection. And the other thing about function, not perfection is it's really highly improbable that any of us can get all of our function all in the green at the same time. So I do struggle with perfectionism. I do want to know what's the best that could possibly happen, who's the best who's ever done it, and how can I be as good as them or better than them. Like I'm fairly competitive, and I'm very aware of like what perfect is, and I tend to just sock the snot out of myself in my head if I am anything less than perfect ever. You just should have heard what was going on in there over the first video and the fact that it was so warm. And anyway, so I understand, but it's really important that we don't look at our well-being as perfection, because that wouldn't even be good for us anyway. It wouldn't be a beneficial part of the human experience if we were perfect in every way. And the other thing is that it's really difficult to get all 8 areas up into the green because we're human beings. And so even if I were to somehow achieve physical perfection, like if I lost my most important relationships or they suffered in my pursuit of physical perfection, then socially things aren't going to be so great, and emotionally not going to be so great either. So it's really not possible as human beings for us to get, everything perfect all at the same time. It's going to be difficult, if not improbable, to get everything functioning at the same time. So that's not the goal. The goal is to identify areas where we're functioning strongly and well, and not worry about them, to find areas that we need to be aware of, and they can just be in the periphery of our understanding, and to find areas that might be fairly important for our continued well-being to improve in those ways. And then the other thing is even if it were entirely possible to get all of our functioning, all of our 8 dimensions of wellness all functional all at the exact same time, that's not sustainable, because one thing happens beyond our control. A cold, you get a cold. Physical well-being, you might be laid out on your couch. Emotional well-being, you might be completely panicked because we're still in a pandemic. So the occupational well-being, if you have a job and you have a cold, especially during the pandemic, they don't want you in that building. And if you've just been working for the last couple months after more than a year of being away, that might really negatively impact your social well-being because you're just readjusting to coming back to work. And that's one cold that might last 1 or 2 weeks. can knock you down, maybe even to not functioning at all in multiple areas of wellness. And so, and that's fine. That's 100% fine. That's perfectly normal. That's human. You're presumably a human, unless people are putting this on to entertain their dogs, which would be kind of funny. So let me know. But yeah, so we're looking at functioning versus not functioning, not perfection versus failure. There is no failure. Just being aware of your well-being makes failure impossible. Being a human makes perfection impossible. So we're just looking at like fields of function, and that's it. So I would encourage you to go ahead and create zones of function on your radar chart, so that when you're looking at or analyzing how you're feeling as far as wellness goes, and it's totally how you're feeling. There's nothing really that objective about this. It's just a way to make it visual. So it's how you're feeling versus how you want to feel, and what kinds of things you can do to feel better or to have improved well-being in those areas. So remember, we're looking at function, not perfection. And until next time, please remember that you are lovable, you are capable, and you deserve to be cared for just the way you are. So until I see you again, take care.